ready to go? Peter, ready to go?
1 o'clock.
Oh, 1 o'clock. All right.
No. Sharon, are we? Okay. Yeah. go for
Karen,
it.
you ready? Okay. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Ethics Commission of the Town of Chesapeake Beach. All members are present, as well as our clerk and legal counsel. So we have a quorum, and the meeting is now in session. And we'll start as usual with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. First agenda item, approval of the agenda.
Approved.
Moved.
Yeah.
I will take the liberty to propose later some modifications to the because when the agenda was put together, it had slipped my mind that we had an election recently, which resulted in some changes to the management of the town, and that means we have to catch up and identify those new members who would be subject to the disclosure provisions, and I think that'll keep us occupied. Okay, we approve the agenda, and I think departure is always possible because we have the standing agenda items, E, comments by commissioners and members of the public, and we can use that as a catch-all or a catch-up with things. Okay, then next agenda item, the approval of the minutes of the last meeting on November 18. It seems like an age ago.
Yeah.
And are there any comments, objections to the minutes?
No.
No.
Okay, very good. Next item, review of proposed recommendations of changes to the ethics ordinance. I think we will put this aside for the moment, because as I said earlier, we have to catch up with new people we have in the management of the company, of the town. As will be remembered, a few months ago, it's been a few months now, the town created two new commissions or boards. One is the Board of Port Wardens. We have an entity now called the Tree Board. And the town council did apparently, as far as I know, did not make any decision whether these two new entities will be on a par with the volunteer premiums such as this one, or whether it is one of the groups that do something for the town but are not envisioned by the town charter or the town code.
Peter, I'm sorry, are we skipping B? Are we skipping item B?
I think he said he wants to set it aside for now, yeah.
And why are we doing that? Because I think,
Because we have to make additional changes to the ordinance.
well, the comments that I have made, it encompasses the changes of the boards, formation of new boards, or dissolution of existing boards and commissions. So I think if we go through the comments, that will be taken care of.
Yes, and I was going to get that with or without the item B.
But why do we need to separately handle that? I guess I'm not following you.
Let me find my piece of paper here. Okay, here's a list of the boards and committees that exist in the town. And some of them are statutory in that they are required by the code. Others just exist. And let me give you, read the list here. It seems to be in no particular order. I took this from the website of the
If I
town.
may interrupt, my suggestion
Yeah.
is that whole list, what are the appointed bodies, that should be a separate schedule that is maintained by the town administrator and reviewed by the town council every year. It shouldn't be us deciding who should be included or not included. We should have that reviewed every year by the town council and say, okay, this is the list
Yeah.
that they need to file disclosure. Is that still accurate, or should we add or subtract?
Well, occurs to me that the town council has not been appropriately diligent in keeping up with these things.
Right, but we should force that issue into.
We should decide whether, strictly from our perspective, in a new entity such as the Board of Port Wardens, it's a bit of a mouthful, whether that should be on the same level as a group that is we call a workable community. There's a volunteer advisory, or whether it should be of the same level as this commission, or the planning and zoning, or appeals board, and all these others.
I understand. So that's the type of decision this commission has been making My suggestion is that that's not appropriate for this commission to make, because we are not aware of necessarily of all their responsibilities. And why shouldn't the town administrator, in conjunction with the town council, every year, probably prior,
Decide who's on it or not.
yeah, prior to
But
whenever it's due.
but what
which
Peter is saying
April.
is they have not been doing that. So this commission has taken that over, which I agree with you. We shouldn't be doing that.
We shouldn't be in that business. That's my point.
Well,
But let's ask
I
our
agree
council
in part.
what he thinks.
It's not our business. It's the job of the council.
Yeah.
But if the council does not make a decision one way or the other, which it hasn't done in many cases, in that case, I think it is appropriate for us to come up with a proposal.
And so, gentlemen, that gets to my point, my comment I made back to your edits. If we're going to do all of this, we need more resources. We're going to be an investigative body. We can't do it. We're not.
We can't do it.
We
And
can't
I
do it.
agree with you. In fact, this is one of the responsibilities
Yeah,
I think we need to shed,
yes, yes.
because town is going to change the structure. There are going to be new directors or new management coming in. They have to decide who should file disclosures, not us. I think we have enough things if we do our other job that involves ethics. That is huge job already. So this is one responsibility that we should move on and pass it on.
Push it back. Push it back.
Push it back, yeah.
Just say it that way. The town has been derelict in getting this done. The town administrator, town council need to do this. I mean, we've been doing it, but we should not be doing that.
Not be doing it. As part of our review, I think we should say that this is something that has been in the ordinance and has been our responsibility to update, but we don't think it's appropriate for the commission to update this. This should be set up and mentioned in the ordinance that this list will be maintained by the town administrator and updated annually prior to the filing requirement, which is the April. So the first 3 months, 4 months of the year, the town administrator has to put that on the agenda for the council to have a short discussion. These are the ones that we had, and perhaps the town administrator really should make a recommendation that these are new boards or these are new positions that should be included or should be nothing, or should be taken out.
Otherwise, I see us as being judge and jury.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah. So
That is the issue.
There are other things that the town council should do. One of them is the it's the proper labeling of the office holders of the town. If there is something that Farhad, you had mentioned months ago, that ordinance talks about commissions and boards, but it never, these terms seem to be used interchangeably. At least I couldn't find any paragraph or sentence that says a board is a board if it has certain functions or characteristics.
Right.
Something is a commission and not a board if other criteria apply. And then we can look at the job titles of the town's management.
Directors.
wish I could find it quickly.
It says director.
Just one illustration. One office holder who is also a person subject to the disclosure requirements is J. Berry. He is in the list of town officials here. He is described as, I believe, superintendent of public works. I couldn't find it quickly. The ordinance identifies, provides a list of people who are subject to the disclosure requirements, but it doesn't mention whatever it was, superintendent of this or that. It simply says that subject to among the people subject to the disclosure requirements are all directors of the town's department. Now, I could not find anywhere what departments the town has. It's not there. And J. Berry, he is described or titled differently wherever you look. Obviously, this is something that the town council should clear up.
Precisely, and I agree with you 100%. And these are the type of things I think if we take the overall view of what is our responsibility and what is not our responsibility, also the structure of the town, the labeling of the individuals, their titles. That's the type of management that has to be handled not by us
before it gets to us. Yeah,
before it gets to us. And if I agree with you, there should be a differentiation between commissions and boards, but that's not, again, that's a management function to decide that we have these bodies, let's differentiate them so that it's clear to the public. We could at some point make the comment to the council because of the transparency and clarity of the organization of the town, you should do this.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't do it for them.
No, that can just be a suggestion. Yeah.
Right. If we see some issues that makes the residents unclear about what the function of this body is, and if there is a way that we can recommend, we should recommend that. But that's just a recommendation from Ethics Commission for the purpose of transparency. But again, that goes to the overall umbrella. Is transparency a part of our responsibility or not? Transparency in the government, transparency or accountability, is that something that this commission is responsible to ensure that the town governance has accountability? I think it should, because when you look at the accountability ethics, the definition of ethics, definitely these things do come up. So I think our discussion, it would be much more productive if we focus at that level and decide what we think is the appropriate role for this commission. To start with that, because that's the umbrella. All the other things are the details that would fall under that umbrella that we established.
So I disagree with you at all. But what would you want us to do? You know, here we are sitting here and we observe something that the council should clean up. They haven't. And getting back to the board of port wardens, that body, certain permitting powers, also has the power to levy fines. And, now, is that something that a body that is outside of as a sort of on a second tier of the various agencies, bodies, commissions. Somewhere we also have committees according to the town's paperwork. Now, cutting to the chase here, so we go somewhere.
So my suggestion,
Any one of us, in fact, any resident of the town could show up at a council meeting and say to the council, you guys have not been attentive to your duties. We know there is an existing ordinance which states that the town has apparently departments that are headed by a director of that particular department. But that is not the nomenclature that you actually use and that we the residents encounter. And I think you're being sloppy. I mean,
so you ask me what do I suggest? What I suggest, Peter, is go through the agenda item B, discuss the changes to the ordinance. When we reach consensus, I don't know if it's going to be this meeting or another meeting, we reach a consensus that these are the changes that this commission proposes to the ordinance. That has to be taken to the council, correct? And as part of that, I think some of these observations can be added, not as part of our responsibility, but as part of making the town governance clear and transparent and understandable by the residents. So those can be side issues, frankly, from our view. This is not our primary job to correct the title of the positions or the nomenclature they use for different bodies. But we can bring it to their attention, saying that as part of our review, one of our suggestions is that you review the list of bodies that need to be complied to the disclosure. And furthermore, we have these observations that some of the titles seem to be inconsistent. So therefore, we recommend that to you. So that's simple. But the major job for us, I think the heavy lifting is to come up with a coherent and acceptable ethics commission that we all feel that this is the right ordinance for us. And then the rest of it is the business of the town administrator and the council.
I have an add-on to what you just said. And just a suggestion, might it be valuable for us to go through a work session with the new town administrator? My concern is that all of these new town folks start out on the right foot. They're all new, every one of them. She's new. We're talking about what she and the new council should be doing. They have no idea. They're not here. So we're going to do this work. Peter's right. We'll give it to the town. They're not going to do anything with it. We'll be right where we are right now, 6 months from now, maybe. But I'm thinking that to include everyone who may need to have a foot in the race up front,
I think
Just a thought, just a thought.
I agree with the suggestion of meeting with the town administrator at some point.
Yeah.
But I think that point is when we have a
Something,
revision
yeah, I got
to
you.
the
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yeah, yeah. I
Say
agree.
that we have met, we
Yeah.
have done our part.
Yeah, that was the wrinkle,
These
yeah.
are the changes.
Mhm, mhm.
And along with that, by the way, these are some of the other points. Do you present the new ordinance or the town administrator does? Who does the presentation to the council ultimately when it goes for the approval?
The way it was handled is that this is how we did it the last time that we took an amendment to the town code to the council, and we had prepared at the first a marked up version of the existing ordinance. It was then, for purposes of enactment, that seems to be a practice in maybe the state of Maryland. Again, what we started out with is the then existing ordinance marked up with things crossed out, things added, different colors, and so on. And but that was not what was voted on. They voted on what looked like a standalone ordinance number so and so of a particular date, and that was put on paper in a particular format with certain things written all in capital letters, certain things crossed out, if I recall correctly. It makes it difficult for somebody not familiar with that format to even read it. But that's what was voted
Was it
on.
just submitted in writing, or did someone present it orally in addition to?
Well,
written?
the presentation to the board was the last time around was made by yours truly.
To the town council?
I met with the town council at a working session. Said, look, here's what we want to do. Here's what we must do. It came down from the state. You know, this, and this. And yeah, here it is. So from now on, you run with it. You do whatever you think is appropriate.
I think that's great. I think we should do the same thing. I think we are under a time crunch as far as I'm concerned, because just doing the revision itself and making it in a way that it's understandable to be submitted for the approval and all that, and it's going to take time. So
It takes a lot of time.
it does, yeah. So
And in fact, I mean, what we had was a working paper that said, you know, the section so-and-so of the town code currently reads ABC. We think that that is not good. We think something else is better, and this is what we propose, and this is the reason why. That was a big. That was given to the council. Everybody read it. I don't know. But, eventually, it was voted. But any change to our ordinance, the ethics ordinance, has to be approved by a body of the state, by the legal department of the State Ethics Commission, and the council can enact whatever they want, but it does not become law until it gets the seal of approval from the
Right.
from the state. That seems to be a feature of the Ethics Commission. I don't think there are other changes to a town code or charter that would require the prior approval by the state, but I don't know.
So shall we start with item B?
Yes, but I must say that I just saw the markup. Oh, here we are.
Well, I don't know if there are any other comments. I can go through and explain mine once,
Mhm.
and then whoever else has,
Were you the author of this
yes,
piece of paper?
yes.
Yeah.
There were some other changes that were made afterwards. I don't know how they got, I had shared that, and there were some other extraneous thing got there, but it's okay. We can get through it. And I just explained some of the changes that I'm recommending, and we can then perhaps have time to reflect and review it maybe more, and then come back together and say, okay, we want to go this way or that way. I don't know if it's possible to reach consensus in this.
Would you then walk us through this?
Yes, exactly.
And I'm not sure whether, speaking only for myself, whether we'd be ready to vote on it
Got it.
today,
Got it.
or whether we have to put this off
Right.
so everybody can sit down
I
with
agree.
your privacy of your.
Right. I agree. No, I agree completely.
Sober second thoughts.
So shall I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
please.
So, starting on the purpose 25.2, I have, before, it was basically, item A was that to prevent town employees and so forth to act corruptly, I think was the word. I took the corruptly out and replaced it with unethically. And unethically, then I thought that it needs to be explained of what, in the context of this ordinance, what does unethical means. I looked up unethical definition and several sources on universities and business schools and the like. And there is a whole bunch of things that people could include in ethics. What is ethics? It can be integrity, morale, principles, honesty, right, fairness, responsibility, conscience, choice, honor, value, and so forth. So there are a number of things. By reviewing those, I thought for the purpose of a town government, the items that it's most applicable are, of course, corruption. Corruption is included, but unaccountability, non-transparency, unfairness, or unprofessionalism. Those are the items that need to be included. And I had included some examples, at least from my perspective, what would the instances of those would be. Let me see if I can see it. For some reason, I don't see these comments. But anyway, so those are the five or so things that I thought ethical would mean.
Question.
So that's item A. Are there
Question.
any questions?
Yes, one question. And maybe it's not a question, a comment. Each one of these things that you list require a definition of its own. What's accountability?
Exactly.
What's being
Yeah,
right. What's being non-transparent? So let's just keep that in mind. It's like when we say that a person or an action is not being addressed or handled in an accountable way, then that where the lawyers get involved in
Right.
it, you know. So,
On account, yeah, and I think the point well taken. In fact, as I put those down, I reflected and said, well, what would be an unaccountable example of
Right.
unaccountable? Well, unaccountable is that if the town doesn't have any way to keep track of how long the permits take to approve, and people come and here and complain that it's taking us, 3 months to get a simple permit. Well, is there a system
yeah, yeah.
and is
I
it
agree.
a system to keep people accountable that our objective is to approve or review permits within 2 weeks?
Right.
So that's accountability. Transparency is, again, we can come up with
Yeah, that's
examples
fine,
of
that's fine,
how
yeah.
a government is transparent or non-transparent. Unfair, if some people's business is handled differently than others, unprofessional. The example actually I came down on me is that if town employees complain that we haven't had a performance review for 5 years, well, that's unprofessional.
Exactly.
A professional organization would have that at least once a year. So those are the type of
Sure.
examples,
Yeah.
and it may be appropriate for clarity to include some examples
Yeah, I
to
agree.
just make it clear
Sure,
that
sure.
this is what we mean by these items. Does
You
that make
handled that one
sense?
very well. Yes, thank you.
Oh, of course. And then, then really the next one, item B under 25.2 becomes fairly easy, basically saying that unethical acts, we want to make it as easy as possible to detect and punish and remedy the effect of those. So that's fairly straightforward.
Mhm.
And then the last one is modifying it so that we remove ambiguity for employees and officials of what would be unethical. So if a question comes up, to your point, Greg, if a question comes up, I think it's up to this body to say, oh, yes, we hear, okay, that is part of ethical, or no, that's really not ethical, it's something else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
Is it in your bag?
Pocket. There it is.
Okay, so
this always happens.
yeah.
I would say this is very broad, and you were opening up the commission to a number of potential complaints that may not always, unprofessional conduct can be, that's so broad. And unfairness is so broad that, for instance, that first gentleman we had in here months ago who said, I haven't been treated fairly. Well, and that's just one example of things that I think it's broadening the scope of the commission, which may be what you want.
I think, Lee, that's the thought I have. If they feel that is unfair, is that an ethical behavior of the town government or not? I don't think it's ethical for anybody in business or public to. There's a way to silence it.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll show you how unsilence it. You don't need to do anything. It will go to the
Voicemails.
How do I shut this off?
It's on silent. You don't need to.
You don't need.
You don't need
It's not going to ring. It's not going to ring if you don't leave it on. I mean, you can shut it down too if you want.
Okay.
But I think that's my point, that from average residents, average person, you say what is ethical is professionalism in the business, or anybody and that has responsibility for people. Is that acceptable or not? And people say, no, that's not an ethical thing. And that's the thought process. And in fact, to your point, the things that are brought to us by just average residents proves the fact that in their mind that is unethical.
No.
Let me make two side remarks. One of them, you remember that in the last couple of months, we had a number of complaints that were brought to this commission. And in each case, our answer was not in these words, but in substance. You're quite right. We understand your grievance, and yes, it's a very well founded grievance, but it does not fit into the pigeonholes that are our ethics ordinance, and therefore we cannot say that the events or the conduct that you complain about is unethical. Take the most recent example I can think of was a complaint by Bruce Wall, who is now the mayor, and his complaint was that in this room, the then acting mayor actually campaigned promoting the mayor's preferred candidate and attacked the candidacy of the rival. And I think what your proposal is aiming at is to point out the deficiency of the existing ordinance, because it does not. There are many actions that are unethical, that may in fact be heinous. But it's like but if it doesn't fit the defined categories of unethical actions, it's a nothing. But related to that, the state of Maryland allows us, the municipality, to enact an ethics ordinance which is more restrictive than the corresponding rules that apply to state officials. And we can do that. What we cannot do is go the other way and make it more.
Yeah, the genesis of my comments is that just many cases brought to us, that to all of us, we heard it and we said that, well, that sounds unethical, but you go through the ordinance, well, that doesn't really specifically cover it.
Yeah.
So we can't act on it. But and again, going back to Grace's point on email and stating here, and to your point, this does expand the umbrella items that comes to this commission. But later on in the ordinance, it says that whatever we feel that it's worthy of investigation, we need to go to the town and ask for an investigator.
Right,
So we
right.
have to ask for an investigator to be assigned to a case and come back to the commission
Agreed.
with all the all the facts.
Exactly.
And we can sort out the facts in front of us and say, yes, based on this, we feel that it was a fair treatment, or no, it was unfair. And then we make a recommendation to the council that to remedy this and prevent future occurrences of this, we need to do X, Y, and Z.
Correct.
But to be able to we have to amend the ordinance, the existing ordinance.
Right.
In the way.
Which is here, right,
Yeah.
right, right. Yeah.
Now, the question that comes to mind, and talking about it, is that what we really want to do?
And my position, and I've stated this before, the town either has an ethics commission or not, or it has a financial disclosure commission. If it has an ethics commission, as the name suggests, then all of these issues are ethical issues and need to be handled somehow.
And it seems from the complaints that has come
Right.
our way, that that's how the citizens.
How
Exactly.
they see it, yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
You understand,
Yeah.
ethics commission. And, well, yeah, we can put it to the council.
Yeah, exactly. So let me just continue then, again, in totality, so you have the picture. The next one is
Yeah,
the,
where are you now, Paul?
so I'm done with A, 25.3A. I'm sorry, B. I'm on 25.3B, specific definitions. And the first one is
Oh, here we are.
appointed officials. What my suggestion is that we basically say a list of appointed officials is included in appendix whatever. The town administrator maintains this list and ensures that it's reviewed and revised by the town council on an annual basis. I think maybe a good addition here would be on an annual basis prior to the due date for filing. So,
Yeah.
the first 4 months, basically. So every year, maybe in February, maybe in March, the town administrator would add this as an item, agenda item for the council, that these are the bodies that are subject to disclosure, and he or she would recommend that maybe these changes need to be made. Because that person is closest to the operation of the town. So then we get out of this business of, is this warden or this?
Who's on, who's off,
Right,
yeah.
who's
Yeah,
on
yeah.
and who's off, and be the, as you say, be the judge, and
Yeah, we can't do that.
you can't do that. So that was that. Then we go to the next comment under definitions is under covered persons. I think it was just said another official rather than saying appointed official. I just picked that up.
Corrected that, yeah.
And under the earned income, I just made it a little bit simpler. It's mostly editorial, as defined by federal tax law rather than a long
Yep.
sentence.
I like all
Are
of that.
we all together? on
Yes.
that? Yep. Peter, or so going down, some changes to the where again it's mostly editorial changes to try to make it a little bit simpler in terms of financial interest. On honorarium, also, again, editorial, it seems like it would flow better if we put the payment for the book in as part of the writing. One of the things that, again, I'm sure, please see some of the comments. One of the things that I'm not sure why there are different percentages in different parts.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
this.
3%.
3%, 10%, 25%, 50%. How, you either have a substantial interest or not
No,
substantial.
yeah,
What is
yeah.
substantial interest? Is it
Mhm.
3%, 5%, 10%, 20,
And it's-
whatever it is?
it's
let's
not a
make it
sliding scale
consistent.
either, yeah.
Because it's all over the
Come from the
Off
state,
the
maybe?
record. It depends of your party affiliation. Name is Larry Hogan,
Oh,
and you get elected you're governor of this state. Obviously, the voters like you. The political ingrained establishment does not. You should never have been elected. No Republican should ever be elected governor.
we want to be ethical, right?
Be careful here, gentlemen.
So, yeah, I was, to be ethical and be consistent, really, again, I think for simplicity, there should be some percentages, I agree, and I don't have any strong feeling. I think probably over 10%, 15%, it is sizable. 3%,
Nothing.
is
yeah.
it really, that's,
Over 3% is enough.
but we are not dealing with Larry Hogan here, right? So we are dealing with the town people.
I'm a slow reader.
No,
and,
you're fine.
Obviously, I will take this home with me and
Right. I'm just,
sit down.
Peter, I'm just pointing out the major things, as you say.
Yeah.
A lot of editorial things, it probably needs some more wordsmithing
Well,
and changes.
Yeah, I was just looking at the gift.
On the financial issues.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
This just caught my eye. You said it's a transfer of something of value without fair market compensation in return. There is a more or less generally accepted definition of gift in the legal universe, which is a little different.
And fair market value.
Doesn't lose fair market. It's something. I think it was without fair and adequate lawful words like that. But that should not be critical. What the definition also should include the sentence that a political campaign contribution is not a gift.
Right.
And we now have, we didn't have when we first raised this, but we now have a town campaign finance ordinance. And in fact, I had made some edits myself. We have a definition here of a political contribution, and it's defined in the Maryland, the state election law article. We now have our very own definition, which is a portion of the campaign finance ordinance, which probably didn't exist yet when you wrote this. I'm just bringing this up, that it's, you know, it certainly merits a
revision. Right.
yeah, a sober second view.
Sure. Going back to your comment on gift, Peter, again, I'm just expressing my preferences. My preferences be more lay language rather than legalese.
Yeah.
Again, fair market value.
Yeah.
I think everybody understands that. You go and ask someone how much is this worth, they can tell you what they think it's worth it, rather than anything that you have to go look up. What's the definition of this thing?
Because
with all
folks
due
are, you know-
respect to lawyers,
Yeah.
it would not serve the purpose that we are trying to have for this ordinance. I'm moving down.
Terrarium.
Yeah, so we covered the honorarium. Yeah, I made the comment that writing a book, it would probably make sense to go to include it as part of the writing discussion in the same paragraph.
Right.
And then going down, my next comment. Going to, let's see, what is this say? 25.8. This is now about the commission itself. 25A L. It's a minor edit to change commission's programs to commission's purpose, because purpose is defined in this ordinance. Programs are not defined in this ordinance.
You skipped over one on 25.7.
25.7.
25-9B. Just
Yeah, 9B, yeah.
Right.
Is appropriate to ethical.
Instead of appropriate ethical
Yeah,
cases.
yeah.
Again, be very, very specific. This is the charter for the.
Yep.
What I consider appropriate may not be what you consider appropriate.
Right. Let's see. To protect invasions of. Again, these are some of the. Okay, I'm going to 2512 under the same thing for records. I thought that removing subparagraph 3 and incorporating it into what can be disclosed outside and do the redaction clarification right up front would make sense. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on
Yeah,
the
you're right.
actual
issues, yeah.
disclosure because we have spent a lot of time on it. Frankly, I felt like we did a
Clean job on that.
thorough review last year.
You done to 2516?
I'm sorry, 2515, did I have it?
16.
I'm sorry, say that again.
2516 advisory opinions.
on page 2513.
16.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Article.
Oh, okay, let's see. I think I can ask for an advisory opinion in cases not involving appearance of conflict of interest for clarification purposes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I put a question mark. I'm bouncing that off of everybody. Does that come across clear? And actually, this goes to removing the ambiguities.
Right.
That is part of our purpose of this commission, that we need to remove ambiguities, and this is a good example.
Yes, it is. I think you've done good, young man. Really.
Is that it?
Is that it?
I'm looking at actually anything further
Yeah.
or not.
There's some grammatical things, but
Grammatical, exactly. I mean, the substance is really at the beginning.
yes, that's very good. Yeah.
The rest of it is all editorial. Oh, this is actually, I was surprised by this. If we go to 2537.
Okay.
The informal resolution, right? I was surprised that it said that it has to be unanimous vote by the commission rather than majority. I couldn't see why. So I put majority. Does that make sense?
Agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to 25-30 C, I think that's the one. There's a question as to whether you really want that still in the ordinance.
2530C. The position is filled through a contract with firm. Yeah, we did run into some issues with that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. We have talked about this.
Is
We
it-
have not, and I think the general inclination was to remove that, was
Yeah,
it
yeah,
not?
It was, yeah.
So we should probably remove that. So I'm going to go ahead and,
Yeah, let's do that.
You're talking about deleting C?
Yeah.
yes,
As you're doing it, it's showing up on my computer right here, so.
actually, I want to make it as a,
Flying through it, yeah.
suggested. So I'm going to get a suggestion, so you see that this was deleted. You see it,
I do.
right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did the changes in 2532 about the fees, late fees, are those your changes or were they there?
My changes.
Okay.
Again, this is something we had talked about,
Yeah.
that the existing fees were so negligent that it's not going to get anybody's
deterrent.
attention.
Yeah.
So I made it like $5 a day and $1,500 maximum. That's a substantial amount. So most people will pay attention to that.
By the way, at the last round, before the town council, this question came up. Okay?
But if, yeah.
And the idea of increasing the fees was soundly rejected.
Really?
Well, we can
We can
recommend
try
that.
it.
They can reject that.
Yeah.
But we do have other means too, which I noticed that in the ordinance to remedy those
Mhm.
situations. Reprimand, all sorts of things that we have in the ordinance. So I wasn't aware of those, to be honest with you, my shortcoming.
But
That we had.
Increasing the fines would be the easiest way
Easy.
to deal with that
Exactly.
situation, obviously.
Would get people's attention that this is serious.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's all the comments. Thanks for indulging me with
Well, thank you. Thank you,
sharing
really.
the comments.
Can I go back for a moment to the your proposal about the annual creation of an up-to-date list of appointed officials?
Right.
I think we should give some thought to whether the members of the what is it, the walkable town body. Yeah. Here's the current official list of committees and I guess also boards. We have a body dealing with a walkable community. Now, what we I think once we take all this to the council, I think we should be able to say something about these committees. Is the Walkable Community Board, I think it's or the Oyster Cultivation Society, Economic Development Committee. Do you, in fact, I don't know exactly what in fact, I don't even know generally what the Economic Development Committee does. As far as I know, economic development, town planning is mainly done by contractors, by developers outside of the town. They see a nice piece of forest, say, oh, we can cut down the trees and can put up 40 homes. And I know that it will be, in principle, well received by the town council, because what they hear is, oh, enlargement of the tax base. I confess that I'm no longer attend council meetings. Otherwise, probably know what they do. There's an events committee. What do they do? There's a green team. What do they do? There seems to be something called a neighborhood watch. It says right here.
But that again points to the fact that we need to know from the town administrator, which
You can have all kinds of volunteer associations, and they can do whatever they want. Parade the flag every 4th of July. In fact, town already does that. But neighborhood opioid abuse awareness committee.
So my suggestion, Peter, is that I already added a comment in that section saying that point out to the council the new bodies such as walkability board, harbor wardens, or whatever the proper names are, and all these new committees, and they need to be reviewed and decided if they are subject to the disclosure. So again, when we present this to the council, say that's part of the review process that should be reviewed, and as the new bodies form every year, their decision has to be made, so that becomes an automatic thing every year.
By the way, the only broad subject where the town has broad discretion is in identifying the people who are subject to the disclosure requirement. And there seems to be, from what I could find out, a good deal of variation among the municipalities in the state. I think there are, what, about 50 or 70 or something like that. And, at least one of them that I've seen does not put all the volunteers, people like us, on the list of those who have to file disclosure statements. I think the rationale would be getting paid, devoting my time to the public good, and I don't want to have to make these disclosures about how much money I earn. That is something that at least some towns have done. I've seen one that has, like we right now, all these volunteers like us, we have to file this disclosure statement. I can't remember which town it is, we or
Yeah, it's one of those towns. Yeah.
you
but
happen
see-
to know.
Yeah, I think it's either Bowie or District Heights, maybe. What courts have decided and discovered is that even though you have no fiduciary role, you can't exert influence. I can peddle influence. I don't have to be getting paid. I can exert influence on an action that another group wants to take. And
So as an example, to just augment your thing,
yes,
if a complaint come to us, the person who's bringing the complaint to us can take us to lunch or give us a gift, get us friendly with us, saying that, hey, can you make sure that this gets due attention? So that I
Well,
can.
the prohibition applies to all. In other words, even if I don't have to file disclosure statements, I still cannot accept a gift.
I agree.
Yeah,
I understand. Right. Well, actually, that's an interesting point. The way it's written right now, the ordinance is written, it's only appointed officials. So if our commission was not part of that list,
we can exceed.
then we can receive.
Yeah.
And in fact, that may be a shortcoming in the way it's written.
Wrinkle, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's interesting point. It should be really applicable. Let's see. I think really there should be all the bodies associated with the town. This ethics, they should behave ethically.
Everybody on the same rules, yeah.
Now and maybe to do that, the list of people who need to be filing the disclosure should be separate from and tied to only disclosure filing, that these individuals and these bodies need to file disclosure. But other than that, all the appointed employees, everybody's is. So I think that's
subject of disclosures. out of the ethics ordinance as such.
Well,
It
it is
has
a
a
separate
separate,
article. It's a separate
Public
article.
disclosure ordinance.
Right, it's a separate article within the ethics commission, ethics ordinance.
Yeah,
It's Article 3 or whatever. But there are all these other articles that articulate what unethical issues are. So the filing, maybe that really should be part of article, I think it's Article 3.
Article 4 is public.
Is it
Yeah,
Article 4? Okay.
Yeah, 3 is a conflict of interest.
So, okay, so going to Article 4, 2530.
Yeah.
I think that a list of officials and town bodies that are subject to that article should be listed as item A there, as an appendix. And again, that appendix would be maintained by the town administrator.
I have a practical suggestion. As of right now, you've got all these specific appointed officials not listed. My concern is if the town council doesn't prepare this annual list, you've got nothing. And you can say, well, what was it
We have
last year?
no management.
That's fine.
Um,
I mean, if that's the way they want to run the thing, we would make as ethics commission, we would then take a position because we have to weigh in on ethical issues, and we are going to say this is not ethical. There needs to be.
I think it can be handled better if you include 1 through 8, because those are going to be included every year. Whoever is the town attorney, the town treasurer, those are going to be every year. Add, instead of 9, all town department directors, just add after 10, in addition to the above, the town council shall submit a list of all other individuals to whom this shall apply. That way, at least you have certain people that are always going to be required to do it. And if they don't add these other individuals, that's a problem, but at least you still have the substance of what has always been done as far as what people are looking for, public disclosure statements.
Okay, so let's take this one at a time. This list, it is the list of appointed officials, it's not a list of those who are
Elected.
subject
Yeah,
to
elected.
filing disclosure. So it should be separate, first off.
Well,
I
it's
think there
just
should be a
yeah.
separate list of who needs to file a disclosure.
I'm not following you. All these people need to file it, these appointed officials that are listed.
But what about the elected ones?
The elected they're named
That's-
separately.
Yeah, I mean, that,
Right.
yeah, they have to do it. That has to be included. But as far as them naming additional people, you can just put it, that's what you can make. the
But
list of.
okay, so that doesn't quite make sense either as part of the definition of appointed officials, because other boards that may not need to file disclosure, they're still appointed. They're
Well, that-
appointed officials, and they're not subject to disclosure filing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying they wouldn't be required unless they're on the list that's put out every year.
But they are part of appointed officials. The
No,
title is wrong.
This is the definition of appointed official.
Right.
So just because they're on another thing and you think they're appointed officials, they're not listed, they're not defined as such.
Are
under
they
this.
not appointed though? They're appointed by the mayor. All of them are appointed by the mayor.
They are not listed as, they're not defined as an appointed official under this ordinance. This is what defines appointed official for purposes.
I think it is probably for legal reasons imperative that the town code identifies the officials, the management.
Mhm.
To identify certain others, like the dog catcher. But you know, I think you mentioned the first aid, even the town code enforcement official, which is number 8,
Mhm.
wouldn't necessarily have to be designated in the ordinance itself.
The problem I have with that suggestion, Lee, is I think now I have a problem actually with the title of appointed officials for this list,
Mhm.
because it should be perhaps covered officials. And covered officials are the ones that need to be
Right, right.
rather than appointed, because the bodies that are not included in this, they are also appointed officials.
Yeah.
That's what
Right.
I'm splitting
Yeah.
hair,
Yeah,
but
covered, yeah. Covers it.
Maybe we should distinguish between appointed officials
exactly,
and statutory officials,
or covered officials. Yeah,
whatever,
Yeah, however.
whatever word is
Yeah.
describes it best.
but this is something that I think we need to look at it in the context of the overall ordinance, and then under the Article 4 of the ordinance, and the two may be different. Because the other officials that appointed officials that don't need to file disclosure, they still bound by
Yeah, the
this
ordinance.
ordinance.
Yeah, they are, exactly.
Because otherwise, it's written, they are not.
No, of course, everybody is bound by the ethical rules.
Not according to the way we have it right now. Like
Only certain appointed officials to which this applies. It doesn't apply to all. Only those defined in there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a shortcoming. I think we need to address that. And I think that for the overall ordinance, we should just discuss all appointed officials, all employees, all elected officials. That's the scope of the ordinance. Then for the disclosure part, then we need to identify these employees and these appointed officials. They need to file disclosure. So separate the two.
Separate for Article 4.
Exactly. And that would be specific for Article 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the appointed officials, it should list all of the officials, all the bodies of the town, because they need to be covered by the ethics. And in fact, that's a good inventory for the town to have always know how many
Yeah,
bodies they have.
The more we talk about it, the more comes out of the woodwork.
It does. It does.
You know.
And there are
Well,
There are
for
flaws.
example, should the town attorney be an official, or does the legal advisor really a different Isn't that a different animal? Authorizes the checks. Do you view yourself as a town official?
I do not. I don't know, maybe I am, but.
I mean, if you
I filed
represent a business company, you know, that, yeah, you can speak for it, you can make decisions and so on. But that doesn't make you an executive.
I just realized that there is a separate
And,
definition
you
of
know,
covered
in
person.
any event, you know, lawyers are under their own regime of, irrespective of. In case there should be a discrepancy, conflict,
Yeah.
you would have to go by the bar rules.
What I put in this document,
No, I was, thoughts that spring to mind looking at this list.
right?
Yeah.
My suggestion for Article 4 is that say that the public disclosures by elected officials, candidates for election, other appointed officials, and employees that are listed in appendix whatever. So those parts, I mean, elected officials and those who are candidates, that's pretty clear. The one that is ambiguous is which appointed officials and which employees this applies to, and that's a separate list. And that's part of Article 4 only. And then we go back and the appointed officials really should not include employees, I don't think. Because employees are already covered by the ordinance separately. So they should be just appointed bodies of the town.
Yeah, this would include the directors of departments.
But that would be in
Yeah,
this
list.
list for
Yes.
Article 4, right? So they would say the head of the public works, yes. The planning, whatever, yes. But and the other ones are exempt from it. I can massage my wording so that you all can review and decide if that's the way.
Yeah, let's do that, yeah.
More surface than I expected.
It works out, yeah.
Excuse me.
Good meeting.
Good meeting. And by the way, as of the the comments you had received in terms of the ethics ordinance and all that, I actually listened to the forum that was with all the candidates, and the issue of ethics came up a number of times, and a number of them, the ones who got elected actually eventually, pointed out that we feel that that ordinance needs to be firmed up. So we may have an audience that is receptive to the changes
Changes
that
we wanna
we're
make, yeah.
proposing.
You're outside looking in, it's one thing. Now you're in it. Now you are in it.
I think as a matter of good citizenship, appropriate with my appointed title, I will have to say that yes, push comes to shove, we should be confident that the town council will listen carefully, diligently, make the right decision.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And the little anecdote I mentioned earlier, at a previous revision round, about the the level of the fines. At that point, uh, there was a sort of a little bit of levity. It was a work session. It's less formal than a council meeting. People were not, whoever said, and this were more than one person, no, I'm going to pay even $20. That came at a point when everybody was getting tired of the. So I think we should assume that we are not dealing with frivolous people, but
Mhm.
with people who don't know all of them. We have to do all a new lineup there.
And frankly, if one of them complains about the thing, the answer is that, well, file it on time. There's no problem.
Exactly.
No fines.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay anything.
It's that hard.
Right.
I have a sense that we are at some kind of shallow point of the discussion. Fahad, would it be very unreasonable? I mean, you've been the laboring oar on
Yes.
creating this document. Go the second round and incorporate to the extent that your memory serves and your notes serve. Get it to the next.
I would be happy to. The one that I'm really walking away, that I remember, if there are other things pointed out to me, are really the covered people, and both for the overall ordinance and for Article 4, and differentiating and delineating the individuals between those two parts.
At least one other go round session.
Yeah, one other work session.
I would be happy to do that, and I'll let everybody know when that document is. I will make it, so you can also comment
If you
on it.
could distribute it whenever you're ready. It's a bit awkward to having to look at something for the first time.
Yes.
Already saw things that we had already discussed that slipped.
I will review, make sure that the previous comments are not, have not disappeared. But one of the things that bothers me is that I did have examples that came to mind in terms of what ethics is, and I didn't see that in this. So the good thing about Google Docs is that it keeps
It's-
history.
There you go.
So you can go back and pull those things out. So I will do that and let everybody know, and we'll take it from there.
Great.
Thank you.
See?
Find it again. Yeah. thinking of volunteering to be the hearing or go over the disclosure statement. Once to did a lot of the writing of the what I asked you to do. Once I'm done,
We'll push it out, yeah.
send it out so people have a chance to. To see.
Has the new administrator come on board? Is there a new, what's the name?
Amelia,
Amelia?
Amelia.
Odu.
What may make sense is that at some point there needs to be an interaction with that person to say that, you know, there are a couple of lists that we have come up with, and are they, you know, or you know, it needs to be put together, all the bodies of the town, for example, and so forth, so that they don't get blindsided by that. Have you met with the new administrator?
Yeah.
You have, okay.
Yeah. She's an African lady.
Oh, really?
Family Nigeria. She mentioned the ancestry of and I cannot remember which.
I'm not sure what item C was, frankly.
I think that's what he's saying. He's going to go through.
Do the disclosure?
Yeah,
Right,
he's gonna
yeah,
write it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So basically, we need to just decide on the next meeting?
yes.
I'm going to turn this around very quickly. I mean, there's not much. So I'm going to do that with that assumption. How long would it take, do you think, we all digest what we have? I will be out of the country at the end of January, early February.
So for how long?
Just for 5 days, and
Oh.
then I'll be out of town also
Oh.
in February sometime. So we are on 13th now.
Yeah.
Would 22nd work? Is that too early?
February?
22nd to review all the things and come back with what we want to move forward
February 22nd, which month?
this month,
This month.
10 days.
22nd is a Saturday.
22nd of January?
Oh, January. I was thinking February. I'm sorry.
And hopefully you would found the original documents. So
I have a pretrial conference in Calvert County on the 22nd at 1 o'clock.
23rd?
Yeah. Try to start. Oh, but I can.
The 23rd you can? Right?
Yep, 23rd, 1 o'clock.
24th.
23rd is better.
We will have digested all of this and we'll be ready to vote on it.
Exactly. That's basically coming back with the final
Yeah, yeah.
comments.
Sharon, hold us to that, please. Make sure we don't ramble, okay? Oh, okay. E.
John?
There seem to be no further comments by commissioners and don't have members of the public, so we stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Good conversation.
Yes, very good.
covered some good ground.
Yes.
Not the only one who was